Calvin Ridley has gone to the Tennessee Titans. He is not a Patriot. He is not a Jaguar. He is a Titan today. The Titans. The Patriots have been beaten to a receiver in 2 straight off seasons by the Titans. The Titans. And their situation, not much better than that in New England, by the way.
Last place, 6-11 last year.
Yep, not great. Fired their head coach. They don't have they have a new head coach the same way the Patriots do. And the Titans just drop a bundle of cash on Calvin Ridley, the best available wide receiver, to go to Tennessee. So that thing is dead. That was a twist. I would not have been surprised if he just went back to Jacksonville. This was surprising. We didn't see this one coming. This was very quiet. Quiet.
Shh. Mystery team.
Shh. Mystery team.
In this case, the mystery team really was lurking.
I feel like there isn't usually a mystery team, right? Like the dark horse doesn't actually exist.
Right.
Whoops.
Whoops is right. Here comes the mystery team. Patriots get beat. They didn't put up enough money, but they put up, reportedly, significant money in their offer. They offered a real contract. Now, was it the best offer? No. Do they deserve to be criticized for that? Sure. But the fact that they were in on the player for this kind of money means they really don't have any excuse to not continue their quest in finding a top receiver for their team.
Correct. This tells you that they agree with us. They know they need to improve. They know this is a premium position. They know they need to, what's that word? Weaponize the offense. They understand that this is an area where they need massive, massive improvements, and they were willing to
weaponize the offense.
That's right.
Thank you, Elliot.
Elliot.
There's that reminder.
Weaponize.
But they were ready to allocate massive, massive dollars to this position and this particular player. Now, there's not another player in free agency at this spot that's worthy of that kind of money. But does this tell you what might be next is a trade? Are they willing to go to those lengths? Are they willing to give up real draft capital and money to add a true number one receiver, which I think Calvin Ridley is in that. He's essentially a top 25, maybe even top 20 receiver in the league right now. And so is he a true X? Is he a big-bodied boundary guy? He's going to win every jump ball? Maybe not. But he's pretty damn good. And the Patriots acknowledged that by being in on him the way they were. And by missing out on him, that is a massive disappointment.
I've been looking for things that are different with Elliott Wolf from Bill Belichick, because in a lot of ways I feel the team has operated the same way it did with Bill Belichick in charge. I cannot imagine that under Bill they'd be offering that kind of contract to a free agent wide receiver.
No.
This is new.
Yeah.
So while I want to say, why did you come up short? I also want to say, hey, that's a little different. You were at least in. I mean, you didn't close the deal. You're not a closer. No coffee for you, Elliott Wolf. But you were in the ballpark, and maybe you weren't to the degree that the Jags were, and maybe your offer and what's been reported was a typical incentive-laden nonsense type of deal. So at least on the surface, it looks good. You were in the ballpark. You're offering big money to a wide receiver. That never happened under Bill. He didn't do this. He'd like to get Randy Moss when he was a project. You know, when Randy Moss had to get back on track.
4th-round pick.
Right. Big dollars to a free agent wide receiver, top of the market type money for a free agent wide receiver, that did not happen under Bill.
So this is one of the few instances, it sounds like, for you, Beetle, where you're actually okay, where they were interested. You're okay with them being interest kings in this scenario?
No, because I still feel like if you're in that ballpark, get the damn thing done. You didn't offer the most money, right? You can get let off the hook when you're an interest king when you offer the most money and you get turned down. And someone says, I'm not going to play there. I'm not going to New England. No, you didn't offer the most money. So at this time of year in free agency, if you don't offer the most money, you're not doing it right. So, no, they lost. But just the fact that they were somewhere in the ballpark is just, I think it's important to recognize there's a difference there. Because in recent days, I've been critical of them for not being all that different. This is different. That is different.
It is. And I like that I like that difference.
So do I.
I'm okay with that. I do want to highlight that they do agree with us and they did want to spend money on him, because there are a lot of people over the course of the last 12 hours or so who are looking at it and saying, hey, it wasn't worth that money anyway. The Patriots think he was worth something damn close to that.
Yeah.
So that
So the
wasn't the
Patriots-
reason
in your
that
mind,
they didn't get him.
If you're saying that, do you think the Patriots are stupid? Stupid
Correct.
team. That's what you think today. They're not a stupid team if they believe in receivers in 2024.
I do think, though, it gets to a point if you're looking at Calvin Ridley and the money that he went for at Tennessee, if you're the Patriots and you're saying, all right, we're going to have to spend top-of-the-market dollars on a wide receiver, why would we not use draft capital and actually go get a number one receiver? Say what you will about Calvin Ridley. He is not in the same class as some of these other guys that are going to be available through trade. So when it gets to a certain point with the contract, why are we going to shell this out for a guy that isn't really that type of player?
Because you need it. You need it that badly. Your receiver room is that bad. Your offense is that bad. The situation around the young quarterback that you're about to bring in is that bad that you overpay for a guy who might not be a superstar, but is a really good player.
Yeah, but how many receivers are you actually going to pay, right? So, like, you're not going to go out and trade for a receiver and then give him a new contract if you go sign Calvin Ridley for $25 million.
Correct.
And now we have a receiver making $25 million that isn't actually truly a number one receiver. So if we are actually going to allocate those funds to the position, why don't we then pivot and go get a T. Higgins through trade? Like, if we're going to actually spend for a number one receiver, if it's getting to that point with Calvin Ridley's contract and the Titans are offering that, why not go and just pull off the trade and go get your actual number one receiver?
I'll tell you why. Because you want that high draft pick that's going to go away in the trade for T. Higgins or Brandon Ayuk. And I would prefer the big money to Calvin Ridley and the second pick, or the second round pick, number 34 overall, as opposed to Higgins and the big money and no pick. Because to me, you need two receivers.
Yeah.
You need two starting caliber receivers. This would have checked the box for one. Now you can go get another at 34 overall if you want. And now you might actually have a representative receiver room. You might have something that looks pretty damn good. Makes life easy for this next quarterback, whoever comes in here. Now you're still looking for two. And if you go trade for a guy, okay, that's great. You checked one box. You still need one more. And I still have questions. I have questions about guys like Brandon Ayuk and T. Higgins. Are they better than Calvin Ridley? Maybe slightly. But neither of those guys has been a number one. Deebo Samuel in San Francisco, Jamar Chase in Cincinnati, those guys are the number ones. Those are the better players. Those are San Francisco especially. You are loaded with offensive weaponry there. Fair. Defenses are not zeroed in on Brandon Ayuk. If he comes to New England, that changes for him. And so I don't know how those guys are going to perform. Now you're giving up a pick and money for those guys. I much would have rathered overpay. And yes, it's an overpay, but that's free agency. Overpay for Calvin Ridley.
Right. Can you keep your good picks and just pay extra money and get Calvin Ridley? That's preferable to giving up the draft capital to get a guy who's a little bit better.
And again, I think they told you that by offering $20+ million a year, according to Albert Breer.
Yeah, Breer had him in the ballpark of $22 million a year. But every time that happens, you say, well, why don't you just extend yourself another few $1 million and get the deal done? Why don't you get the deal done? And so that, I think, is very much worthy of criticism. So you think he's worth 22, but not 24. And a time when you have $100 million in cap space going into the year, you've spent no money for a decade, and you've got a shot at a guy, you want to get turned down because you didn't have the most money. Now, if you offered the most money and you get turned down, well, then I'll let you off the hook. But you're not getting let off the hook. You can't close the deal. Why? Just for a few more $1 million? Don't sign Josh Uche and get the receiver, okay? Do that next time. So, I know everyone likes Anthony Jennings. Don't sign him next time and get the receiver. The defense will be fine.
Maybe pass on Chuck's Okorafor.
I like tackles, though. They need tackles.
Yeah, he's a backup.
Good
locker
room.
You can find
Good
that.
locker room guy.
Like, use your third-round pick on that.
What did he get money monetarily?
Backup money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like that's a position in need. Whereas
Sure.
defensively, you can afford to give up some
Josh
pieces.
Uche.
That's all. That's all.
So
I'm
is
saying.
receiver. What's the high-paid receiver who has done his young quarterback a disservice is what I would like to ask people.
Oh,
as well.
that's a great question.
There isn't one.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa. That helped your young quarterback. AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts helped your young quarterback. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen
Helped the young
Allen
quarterback.
took off once Stephon Diggs showed up. These are the big money contracts that are being doled out at that position for a reason. It elevates your quarterback.
Terry McLaurin has helped a long list of bums in Washington, right?
Probably has.
Sam Howell took that next step.
It really has. I mean, they throw it anywhere near the guy, and he goes and gets it. So,
But does it? But
You just
does
couldn't
it?
help your starter.
Does it inhibit your team building? Is what I'm saying, and I would say no, it really doesn't. And especially if you're looking at it long term, who are the Patriots' young players that they really desperately need to extend in the next 3 years, say, while you would be paying Calvin Ridley. They're not there.
They don't
It's
exist.
Christian Barmore, and that's it. And you could pay both. It's not like you have this rash of fantastic rookies from the 2022 draft class. Tyquan Thornton, Cole Strange, Marcus. Are you stashing money away to pay these guys big bucks on their second contracts? It's a joke. So you have it. It's there. Again, the Patriots are telling you that it's there, and they were ready to spend it, given reportedly how interested they were in it. And Ridley, excuse me. But the people who say, well, he's not worth that. Yes, he is. For your team, he is. He would have been. It's disappointing, Beetle.
They came up short. They did not offer the most. You got to offer the most if you want to land the player. That's how free agency works, and you have to overpay the player at this time of year. And you have to overpay the player if you need to be building and helping your roster through free agency because you didn't do a good enough job as franchise drafting. So you put yourself in this position. This is what is required of you. And they didn't do it. But just the fact that they were interested and were bidding is different from Bill. He would not have been bidding.
Encouraging.
It's mildly encouraging.
Yes.
Less encouraging that they couldn't get it done.